because it gave me t-shirts, it gives me pay, so I can feed my dog, I can travel, and I can do very interesting projects with the experience I can share, and so I can do the projects and I can share the experience of those projects with you on the conferences. So this is what we are going to talk about, a practitioner view. So it's really my experience, how I implemented new permission model in Salesforce, in the org. And it couldn't be a Salesforce presentation without the forward-looking statement. This is ours. The very first thing I learned when I joined PwC was, at PwC, when we don't talk about clients, this is the rule. But we can speak about the experience we get on the projects. So the cases you will see here, they are anonymized. So they are real cases, but they change some details. So they don't refer to the actual client information. So this is a very, very important statement. So before we start, let's, you tell me, what is your readiness? Where are you with permissions? So what do you know about minimum access profile, permission sets, permission set groups, multi permission sets, custom permissions? Just to set the ground to see where we are. So pretty good responses. But we also see that it is being distributed, yes? So that's, that line shows like that there are people who know very well, and there are people on the other side that don't have a clue, yes? So we will be touching some of those aspects today. So first, a brief summary about the data access and permissions in Salesforce. There are two dimensions. One is the object level and one is the record level. And today we will be talking about the left-hand side of the picture, which is the object level access. And with the object level access, there was an evolution with Salesforce. At first, everything was defined on profile. So all the permissions to perform certain actions, object permissions, field permissions, everything was defined on a profile. And maybe it was good at that time, but it's very inflexible, because you can have a single profile assigned to a user. If you want to have differentiated access, you need to create multiple profiles. Also, those profiles drive the assignment of page layouts, record pages, and many other stuff. So you couldn't really have too many profiles. And then it went at some point to permission sets. And permission set is something that is on top of profile. So it can define some additional permissions that are not defined on the profile. And the good thing was that you could assign multiple permission sets to a user. But if you had a new user, you had to assign to them all those permission sets. So it wasn't really easy to maintain if you had too many permission sets. And then finally, it came to the permission set groups that allowed you to group permission sets into a single group, and then you can assign the whole group to a user, which is easier in manipulation. But you also can create multiple permission set groups and assign multiple permission set groups to a user, and that also is another level of the complexity. But with the introduction of these permission set groups, the approach to defining object permissions for users has changed. So this is the new concept, the new model. Yes, you have a user, You have profile because a user must have a profile. And there are still some information that is being defined on profile, such as default app, default record types, page layout assignments. But all the other permissions can be defined in permission sets that can be grouped into permission set groups. And the relationship is many to many, which means that the user can have many permission set groups. So again, up to you. What is your today attitude? I'm not asking about yesterday. I'm asking about your today. Where do you define permissions for object access, for field access, for app access, and other permissions such as run flows, run reports, export reports, API access, and all those information? And as you see, we start seeing new answers, new responses. It's still a mixture. Yeah? So some of you define the permissions on the profile level. Some of you already define it on the permission set level. And the answer is that everything here can be on the right-hand side. So everything can be defined in permission sets. With this new approach, you can follow what's called the minimum privilege, the principle of the least privilege. The principle of the least privilege says that the user should have the least privileges that it needs for his job. And that wasn't achievable when you using the old ways, when you had this standard user profile. And what we typically do, we clone the standard user profile, but the standard user profile came already with a bunch of permissions that not necessarily all the users needed, like delete records. That was one of the things we did on, after cloning the standard user, we had to just remove the permissions for deleting records. So with this new concept, what you have to remember, and this is how it should look like in the future, you define all the user permissions in permission sets and not the profile. And because you need to have a profile, you use the minimum access profile. This is also, it appeared in the orgs some time ago. It hasn't been there forever. It just appeared. And with one of the releases, I don't remember which one, but it's not that very new concept. So use this minimum access profile and define everything in permission sets. Because if you do this, then you start your project with a blank sheet of paper. So you start with minimum access profile, no permission sets. So this is your principle of the least privilege. You just don't give anything to the user. And as you start developing the functionality, you are adding those permissions to the permission sets. But the question is how to do it. And here we come to the first use case scenario when I was the technical architect on the project for a big global client that grown through acquisitions. They had several divisions with different CRM systems, and they decided that they want to go into one CRM, and this one CRM will be Salesforce. So we came to just a fresh org that we had to set up from scratch. And in this, when designing those permission set model, we kept in mind several requirements. Yes? So it should be not very complex, but it should be flexible, and this not always go hand to hand. it should give good visibility of what the permissions the user has. And on the other hand, it also should be easy to maintain. So as you are answering those questions, I can see that, all are very important to you, but namely it shouldn't be too complex. It should provide good visibility. It should be easy to maintain. Yes, we all would like to be rich and healthy. It's not always possible to have everything. So that was the assumptions that we take. Yeah, we start with minimum access profile, and we decided that we start with just one profile for all users, unless we see a need to create another profile. So then we will just clone the profile and we will go with 2 profiles. Everything will be defined in permission sets, and we will use permission set groups. And then we came to the question how we want to organize. So the first response would be, okay, so for each persona we create a permission set group, which we will fill with permission sets. And then when there is a user, we know what persona is this, and then we assign them the right permission set group. But we quickly came to a conclusion that it will be not persona, it will be a user type. So we started with personas. We asked the client, okay, so what are the main personas in your organization? And then a simple question, what should those people be doing, yes, in terms of opportunities, accounts, cases, quotes. So that gives us an overview of what objects they need to have an access. And we just skip the other permissions like flows, reports, everything, etc. For later. So when it comes to reporting, then we will be thinking about reporting. And as we developed new functionalities, we just created new permission sets. And I just come to tell you how. So when we create new functionality, the first question was, okay, should I rather use an existing permission set and add those permissions to those existing permission sets, or should I create a new permission set? And we all obviously knew if there was a new permission set to which persona it will be added, because it was in the requirement. And if there will be a new user type, then we create a new permission set group and assign those new permissions. This is how we structured the permission sets. I think that was the main challenge, the biggest challenge. How you do it, how you structure your permission sets, how many it will be. Will you rather have hundreds, or maybe you stick like to a handful? So we decided that we will go with these object-based functional permission sets. What I mean object-based is that, for example, manage accounts gives you everything you can do with accounts. But we don't go very granular, like you have manage accounts, manage account teams, manage contact relationships, because then we would go like to a bunch of permission sets. So we rather try to group those object permissions into a single permission set if they make sense. So if it was manage opportunities, and we knew that people who will be doing opportunities, they will need to do quotes. We just didn't create a new permission set for quotes or opportunity products, but just put everything to those manage opportunities. And then the other type was app-based. So what type, who should have access to an app? And then this functional task-based, such as run reports, export reports, mass email. Usually those task-based permission sets just had one single permission. So we didn't try to like put this all together. And we use that naming convention. So if somebody has to create and treat and edit an object, it should be manage object. Edit object was editing object without creating, and view object if you had to just see the object. Yeah, like view cases, for example, for salespeople, if they don't have to deal with cases and they only need to view it, to see it, then we create a permission set view cases. And this is the balance. Yes, this is what I say. This is the balance between the flexibility and maintainability. Because the most flexible would be if you create a permission set for every object, but you don't necessarily need this, because then you have a bunch of permission sets that you need to know and remember what should to be assigned to whom. So we try to keep this on a reasonable level. Not too big, not too small. Yes, on my other project, when I came next, and we created perhaps too big permission sets. If it had access like to 15 objects, it was everything about working with work orders, and work orders have a lot of related records, and we put everything into it. But then this permission set becomes very, very big, and it's again hard to maintain. And occasionally we had a need to split permission set into two. That was with, we started first with manage accounts and contacts, because the client told us that the users will need to have exactly the same rights for accounts and contacts, but after a while they said, no, we don't want users to create accounts, and not everybody should be able to edit accounts, so some fields should be not editable. So we had to split the permission set into manage accounts and manage contacts, and view accounts, edit accounts. And when we did this, then we had to retest all the existing functionalities. But it was easy, relatively easy, because we used automated tests. So if you have those automated tests and you have to do something with your permission, and you, for example, split the permission sets, then you have to retest everything that was built with the former version. And if you have automated tests, you can just run the tests and they go. So it also tells that you shouldn't do this, changes of the permission sets too often, because it requires retesting. So this is the sample, the example that it looked at the client. LMC stands for Lightning Machine Corporation. Yes, we add this prefix to of the company. And we also had a discussion whether we should add this prefix or not, because everything for this company would be LMC. But if you go with permission sets, it helps, or with profiles. It helps because it helps you distinguish the custom permission sets and custom profiles that you defined for this client from what's coming from Salesforce. So this client had manufacturing cloud, order management, and those clouds come with a bunch of their own permission sets. So when we use this naming convention and then we assign those permission sets, then we just see on the list, okay, these are our custom, these are from Salesforce. So this is what it looked like, yeah, and we have this two levels view. So one is the very high level view. If you go to a permission set group, for example, the sales rep, and then you see all those permissions that user have. Yeah? And you know, okay, this user can manage accounts, can manage opportunities, and can view cases. And you see this at a glance. You can document this, you can discuss this with your client. It's just visible. And then somebody may ask, okay, so what comes to view cases, yes? And then we have this detailed level for each individual permission set, that you can see, okay, so in view cases, there is access to those objects, these fields. You also have a summary view. If you are interested what exact permissions are in the permission sets group combined, yeah, because this is what you are giving to your user. You are giving the permission set group. And somebody could add something to manage accounts that is related to cases, for example, yes? So there is a button, View Summary, that helps you to see all the combined permissions within this permission set group. So now come to the question. You tell me, how do you find it? And be frank, if you like it, if you don't like it, what you like, what you don't like. Just type a few words, whether you agree, you disagree, would you use it, would you not? I'm looking for some. I would definitely use this. Should be based. Well, a good question. I just missed this. Permission set should be based on business process instead of objects. Yes, I agree. Yes, we had those discussion whether it should be object based or function based, and we've seen like that managing opportunities or accounts. I consider this a business use. Yeah, so that's why when I said when you use manage opportunities, you also have access to quotes and opportunity products, because this is everything that you need in your work to be able to manage opportunities. So despite it being like object based, it's I consider this business process based. Complexity can grow. How do you deal with fields? Well, yes. If you have a new field, you have new requirements, and you see, okay, this is case. Yeah. So then you have to consider whether this field should be editable or viewable to users that have the ability to view cases, and then you add to the right permission set. But you have all your case-related permission sets, so then you know where to put it. But you can also have additional permission set that can be called like view financial information on opportunity, for example. If you have some set of fields that should be applicable, visible only to a small group of people. So you have to be flexible. Okay, what's in your opinion? How does it come with meeting the requirements, the complexity, flexibility, visibility, and ease of maintenance? I just move forward because the time is going. So I thought it was a great idea, but then I went to the London Calling conference. It was a year ago, and then I was on a session that was also talking about permission sets, and then the guy had completely different approach, which he called free permission set model. And as you can see, you can watch this presentation on YouTube or London's Calling. Basically, that guy came to a concept where he proposed to use just 3 permission sets. So one was the base permission set. So this is everything that's common for the whole organization. Then there is another permission set on top of that with a view access to records. And then there are persona-based permission sets with edit access to records and everything that is specific to a persona. And every user has only those 3 permission sets. So when you add new permissions, new requirement, then you answer the question, yes, who should be able to view it? If all users, then you just add it to the view permission sets. If only certain users, then you add those persona-based permission sets. Who should be able to edit? If everybody, then you just add to each individual persona-based permission set. And it was completely different approach, but interestingly, I had a chance to use from those experience from this example on my next project. Because the next project, we came to a situation when there was an existing Salesforce user, and we added additional functionality for Service Cloud and Field Service. And of course, we came to a question how we should define our permission set model. And it was clear that we cannot just go with our existing permission set model with minimum access profile and permission sets, because this was an existing org. And that client had defined everything in combination of profiles and permission sets. So some access was defined on profiles that had 4 or 5 profiles. Some was on permission sets. So first of all, if something works, don't touch it. Yes. So we didn't come with a suggestion that we convert everything to minimum access profile and permission sets. Yeah, because it was an existing org. We didn't want to do that. So we took something that I called the hybrid approach, and we say, okay, so let's go with your existing situation. You have everything you have on profile. At some point, you will have to migrate to those permission set data model. But you can do this at any time. It just doesn't have to interfere with our project. So we will be adding our functionalities in this model of this functional permission sets, like we did in this Greenfield implementation. And we will be adding this. And at some point, you may migrate your existing profiles to a permission set that we will call base permission set for each profile. Yeah? So this is the example. So we have some access defined on profiles. So what we found was it was a big common denominator, common for all the profiles. And we said, okay, so let's take this common denominator and you just call it your user base permissions. Yes, and then it will come to all your users. And then the other permissions that are different here, just create to your persona-based permission set. Plus, on top of this, it will be our permission sets. At some point, you can migrate your customer service-based permissions. You can just migrate those to those functional-based permission sets. Yeah? So just do one at a time. You don't do everything. And again, everything that's in your base permissions, don't touch it. Everybody use it. Let's keep it there. So again, question: how do you find this approach with this meeting requirement, reducing complexity, flexibility, visibility, and the maintainability? Yeah, so I see that you find this, that it's not too very easy and it's complex. It is, yes, because you come to an existing org and you just can't like do everything, like turn everything upside down and go to a completely new model. Well, probably you can, but this is how you deal with this. Yes, you don't want to make a revolution. But and also the visibility is not that good, because you don't know, like at the first glance, what's in the base permissions sets. Yes, there will be a bunch of permissions, but at least you know that this is something that's common for all users, so everybody has access to it. So this is your minimum privilege in this respect. So coming to an end, and I hopefully was able to fit with the time without leaving time for questions. What are your takeaways from this session? I got a question. Does the permission set override whatever is on profile if common permission element exists? So the answer is no, permission sets never override what is on profile. They just add on top of the permissions on profile. So thank you for this feedback. You will be able to review it. These are the conclusions, things that you have to remember. The main principle is the principle of the least privilege. This is something you have to have in mind when you develop new solution. So you start with minimum access profile. You define access level in permission sets. You start with minimum access profile if you are not in an existing org, yes. Create permission set groups for user types. If you have an existing org and you want to migrate away from profiles, consider converting these profiles to thick-based permission sets and then build on top of this. And there is always more than one way. That was the question that I already answered. This is how you get your own copy. This is Menti. It not always works the same. So some people may see something like on the left-hand side. Some people may see a button, send me the results. Some people may not see this button. This is not my fault. This is how Menti works. But if you come to that picture and you click on send me the results, you will get that presentation. I will post it on LinkedIn along with all the responses when I'm back. So just follow me on LinkedIn and you will see the copy of that presentation. And with having that said, thank you very much. Thank you, London's Calling, for inviting me. Thank you, sponsors, for making this available. And have fun for the rest of today.